Interesting how a single sentence, spoken casually during a family Zoom call, can unravel years of quiet tolerance. When my mother leaned forward, adjusted her glasses, and told me, stay away from her graduation, she thought I'd just lower my head like always. She had no idea that I wasn't the same daughter she had silenced for years. She didn't know the truth I carried or the power of what I was ready to reveal next. This time, I wasn't going to take the blame, stay quiet, or disappear. This time, I was prepared. I'm Janet, and my family has always been complicated. If I had to describe our dynamic in one sentence, it would be this: my sister Michelle shined while I stood in her shadow, and my parents built the stage for it. Growing up, the differences started small. Michelle was the golden child, the one who got the better toys, the nicer clothes, the front seat on every drive. I wasn't jealous at first. I told myself it was normal. Every family had a favorite, right? But things shifted from unfair to painful when the favoritism became public and constant. Michelle made average grades, and my parents threw her a celebration dinner. I made honor roll 6 times, and my mom simply said, "Don't brag. It makes your sister feel bad." Still, I kept my head down. I studied, worked hard, got scholarships, and built my own stability. Meanwhile, Michelle coasted through life as if everything would always be handed to her, and honestly, it usually was. But despite all the differences, I didn't think the divide would get as cold and cruel as telling me I wasn't welcome at her graduation. I didn't think my own mother would say the words that made my chest tighten and my stomach twist. Stay away from her graduation. She said it so casually, so smoothly, as if she was giving directions to the grocery store. No remorse, no hesitation, just that familiar tone of dismissal I'd heard my entire life. The thing is, they didn't know the truth about what I'd been doing for the past 3 years. They didn't know the one secret that connected me to Michelle's entire college journey, something I had hidden because I didn't want them to twist it or take it from me. But the moment those words came out of my mother's mouth, something inside me clicked. It was time for them to be uncomfortable. It was time for them to listen for once. It was time to reveal what they never expected. But before I get to that Zoom call, I need to explain why it hit so hard. Growing up, being invisible wasn't an accident, it was assigned to me. Michelle was loud, charismatic, and messy. I was quiet, responsible, and always cleaning up behind her. Michelle broke things, I was blamed. Michelle forgot deadlines, I stayed up helping her. Michelle got money for emergencies, I was told to be grateful for what you have. When I was 16, I overheard something that never left me. My mom was talking to a relative during Thanksgiving cleanup. She said, "Michelle just needs more help. Janet's fine. She can take care of herself." At first I thought it was a compliment. But over the years, I realized it wasn't. It was permission for them to neglect me, overlook me, and assume I would always pick up the pieces. By the time Michelle finished high school, she barely had the grades to get into community college. My dad was disappointed and my mom blamed her teachers. Meanwhile, I graduated with honors and got into a university on scholarship. My parents didn't come to my graduation. Their reason? "Oh, Michelle is having a hard week. We can't leave her alone." That one hurt. It burned. But I didn't confront them. I swallowed the pain the same way I swallowed every other disappointment. I moved out at 19, worked 2 jobs, and built my life without them. I became financially stable, something my parents said was impossible at your age. But they didn't know what I was capable of. They never paid enough attention. Meanwhile, Michelle bounced through majors, switched campuses twice, and constantly needed money. That's where my secret comes in. Michelle got to stay in college because someone was quietly paying her overdue tuition fees, keeping her enrolled semester after semester, making sure she didn't get kicked out. That someone was me. Not because my parents asked. Not because Michelle appreciated it. But because I didn't want her life to collapse just because our parents kept enabling her instead of teaching her responsibility. But I required one thing in return: she was never to tell our parents. I didn't want them involved. I didn't want them taking credit. I didn't want them manipulating it. Michelle agreed. And for 3 years, I kept her afloat while working my own job, paying my own expenses, and never asking for anything back. So when I got that Zoom call invitation, family graduation planning, I assumed maybe, just maybe, things were changing. Maybe they were acknowledging my role. Maybe Michelle had said something. But no. The call began the way every family interaction did, with Michelle centered on the screen, talking loudly, and my parents nodding like her personal audience. I stayed muted, listening, waiting for a moment to join. Until my mom said the sentence that made everything inside me stop. We don't want Janet at the graduation. It's Michelle's big day. We don't want drama. It's better if she stays away. Drama. I'm the drama? All I did was help. All my life, all I did was help. And that was the moment, right there, on that Zoom call, where I realized they had no idea who I truly was or what I had done for Michelle. But they were about to find out. That was the moment I unmuted my microphone. I unmuted my microphone slowly, the little red line disappearing like a warning light shutting off. Nobody noticed at first. Michelle was still talking about her graduation robe fitting weird and my mom was complaining about the drive to campus. My dad sat silently, nodding as if he were paid to agree. I cleared my throat. Mom, I said, my voice steady, can you repeat what you just said? Everything froze. Michelle's lips parted mid-sentence. My mom blinked like her screen had frozen. My dad leaned closer to his webcam as if better lighting would help him understand. Janet, you're here, my mom asked, squinting like she'd just discovered a cockroach on the wall. I've been here the whole time. Awkward silence flooded the call. Michelle attempted an uncomfortable laugh, the kind she used when she didn't know how to pretend everything was okay. Well, my mom said, straightening her shoulders, since you heard it, I suppose I don't need to repeat it. We just want things peaceful. Michelle deserves a day without tension. Tension? I replied. And what exactly have I done to create tension? My mom sighed dramatically, the kind that was meant to make me feel like a burden. Let's not do this, Janet. This is Michelle's moment. We don't need you bringing energy. Energy, I repeated. Interesting choice of word. Michelle jumped in, her voice higher than usual. Janet, it's not personal. Mom just means it's a big day, and, sometimes you make things complicated. Complicated? I asked. By doing what, exactly? By existing? My dad finally found his voice. Janet, don't be dramatic. There it was. The word they used my entire childhood to shut me down. Dramatic. Even when I was quiet. Even when I was calm. Even when they were wrong. I took a slow breath, forcing my tone to remain controlled. I just think it's interesting that you're planning Michelle's graduation while telling me I'm not welcome at the very event I indirectly helped make possible. My mom frowned, confused. Indirectly? What are you talking about? Michelle froze. She knew what was coming. My mom noticed her expression, eyes narrowing. Michelle? What does she mean? Michelle swallowed hard. Janet, don't. Oh, my mom said sharply, don't what? Michelle, what is she talking about? My dad leaned forward again. Explain. Now. The tension became thick enough to taste. Michelle shook her head frantically. It's not a big deal. That's funny, I replied. You said it was a huge deal when you begged me to help you 3 years ago. My mom whipped her head toward Michelle. Begged you? Begged you for what? Michelle's eyes darted around the screen like she was looking for an eject button. It doesn't matter, she whispered. It matters to me, my mom said, voice sharper than glass. I leaned back in my chair, finally letting the truth rise to the surface. I've been paying Michelle's overdue tuition every semester. My mother's jaw dropped. My dad's eyes widened. Michelle covered her face with her hands. You what? My mom snapped. You heard me, I said calmly. Every time she got a tuition warning or was at risk of getting dropped from her classes, she called me. I paid it. Quietly. Without telling you. My mom shook her head in disbelief. Why in the world would she call you? We could have helped. Because, I interrupted, she knew you wouldn't teach her anything. You'd have blamed the professors, blamed the system, blamed anyone except her. She knew I wouldn't enable her. I told her if I helped, it came with one condition, she wasn't to tell you. My dad turned to Michelle, betrayal consuming his face. Michelle, is this true? Michelle nodded, her lip trembling. My mom snapped, why wouldn't you tell us? Because you'd make it about you, Michelle whispered, voice cracking. And because Janet said she wanted this to be hers. The room fell silent. The shock across my parents' faces wasn't just surprise, it was a wounded pride. The idea that I did something meaningful without needing their approval or recognition had hit them harder than anything else. My mom leaned forward, her voice suddenly soft and dangerous. Janet, why would you do this? Why would you take on that responsibility? For the first time in my life, she actually wanted an answer from me. Not to dismiss. Not to correct. Not to shift blame. But to understand. I smiled sadly. Because I didn't want Michelle to have her future destroyed by your parenting. Michelle's breath hitched. My mom's face flushed red. My dad muttered, Jesus. I continued, because every time she struggles, you swoop in and shield her from consequences. You've always treated her like she'll break if the world pushes her even a little. I wasn't helping her to spoil her. I was helping her because no one else in this family seemed interested in letting her grow up. Michelle covered her mouth, tears pooling in her eyes. She wasn't used to being defended and confronted in the same breath. My mom looked furious. You think we're bad parents? I didn't flinch. I think you're parents who raised one child to be dependent and the other to be invisible. That did it. Michelle sobbed quietly. My dad rubbed his forehead. My mom stared at me like I'd physically struck her. How dare you, she whispered. How dare you, I replied. After everything I've done, you still think I'm the problem. You tell me not to show up to Michelle's graduation, an event I helped her reach, because you believe my presence will cause tension. When all I've ever done is support her while you pretended to. Michelle finally spoke, wiping her cheeks. Mom. Janet's right. My mother's head snapped toward her. Excuse me? I wouldn't be graduating without her, Michelle said, voice trembling but steady. She saved me. Over and over. And I took it for granted. I'm sorry. My mom looked horrified, betrayed by her favorite daughter. But the Zoom call wasn't done unraveling. Not even close. Because I still hadn't revealed everything. My mother sat frozen, lips pressed tightly together, as if she could hold the entire situation together by sheer force. But nothing she did could stop what was already unraveling. Michelle had admitted the truth. I had finally said my piece. And now, a silence deeper than anything I'd ever heard settled over the Zoom call. My dad finally spoke, voice low and strained. Janet, how much did you pay? Altogether. Michelle whispered, Dad, don't. How much, he repeated firmly. I answered with no emotion. Around $21,000 total. My mother let out a broken, disbelieving sound, somewhere between a gasp and a protest. 21,000, she shouted. Why would you? I told you, I said simply. I didn't want Michelle to be kicked out. I wanted her to finish. I wanted her to have a chance. Michelle cried harder, covering her face again. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to disappoint you, Dad. And disappointing us is somehow worse than hiding this from us, he asked quietly. She nodded. My mom shook her head vigorously. No. No. This is ridiculous. Janet, you should have told us. We would have handled it. I raised an eyebrow. Handled it? Like how you handled my graduation? Or my scholarships? Or every achievement I ever had that made Michelle feel overshadowed? Her jaw clenched so tightly I could see the tension twitching in her cheek. You're twisting things, she snapped. No. I'm remembering things. Michelle spoke again, this time through trembling breaths. Mom. Janet isn't lying. She's not exaggerating. You did always make it about me. Every little thing. I depended on it. I depended on you caring more about how I felt than how I acted. My mom turned on her. Michelle, stop. You're upset. This isn't. No, Mom, Michelle interrupted, wiping her face. I'm not upset. I mean, I am, but I'm also clear. I've been clear for a while. Janet told me years ago that if I kept running to you for everything, I'd never grow up. And even though I didn't listen at first, I kept hearing her voice in my head. She was always the one who told me the truth. The look on my mother's face was indescribable: shock, denial, heartbreak, ego, all tangled together. So let me get this straight, she said slowly, you chose to go to Janet? Over us? Michelle nodded again. My father rubbed his eyes, exhausted. Why? Michelle hesitated, then said softly, because Janet listens. And because she never makes me feel stupid. And because she never turned things into a guilt trip. She inhaled shakily. And because I didn't want you two to know how badly I messed up. My mother recoiled as if slapped. We are your parents. And Janet has been more of one than you sometimes, she replied. My mom's face flushed crimson. How dare you say that? After everything we've done for you? That sentence, after everything we've done for you, hit a nerve so deep inside me I felt years of buried frustration rise to the surface. I leaned forward. What exactly have you done, Mom? Paid her phone bill? Bought her hair appointments? Pretended her teachers were out to get her? You protected her from consequences, not because you cared about her future, but because you cared about your image. You didn't raise her to succeed. You raised her to depend on your validation. My mom slammed her hand on her desk, the sound echoing through the speakers. You think you're better than us? You think helping your sister a few times gives you the right to judge us? A few times? I repeated incredulously. $21,000 is a few times? My dad let out a long breath. Enough. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. Because they still didn't know the part that mattered most. The part that would sting them more than any money figure or emotional truth ever could. Mom, I said quietly, I didn't just pay Michelle's tuition. Everyone looked up. Dad frowned. What do you mean? I exhaled slowly. I also helped her apply for internships. Edited her essays. Rewrote her resume. Prepared her for interviews. I even helped her practice her graduation walk because she was nervous she'd trip. Michelle covered her face again, this time sobbing for a different reason, not guilt, but grief. I helped her become the version of herself that you're all so proud of today, I continued softly. And I never asked for anything. Not credit. Not thanks. Not validation. Nothing. My mom looked like she was holding back tears. For a moment, I thought she might actually apologize. She opened her mouth. But then, like always, her pride got in the way. You should have told us, she said instead. If you wanted credit, you could have. I didn't want credit, I said sharply. I wanted respect. I wanted to not be treated like a problem. I wanted to not be told to stay away because my existence made people uncomfortable. My mom shook her head stubbornly. You're overreacting. Michelle stepped in again, voice breaking. Mom, stop. Please stop. Janet isn't overreacting. She's right. You've always pushed her away. You didn't even come to her graduation. My dad shifted uncomfortably. We made a mistake. A mistake you never acknowledged, I replied. And now, my mom said, trying to regain control, you're making Michelle's graduation about you. That's where you're wrong, I said. This isn't about me attending or not attending. This is about you treating me like a threat to her happiness. My mom's voice lowered. Well, you are. Michelle gasped. Noem. But my mother wasn't done. You've always been the dramatic one, she said bitterly. The one who made things complicated. The one who couldn't just accept her place. You don't understand how to support the family without making it about yourself. I felt that hit like a punch to the ribs. My place? I repeated. Yes, she whispered. Your place. I nodded slowly. Good. I'm glad you said that. Why? She asked sharply. Because now I know exactly where I stand. And exactly what needs to happen next. My father looked uneasy. Janet, what are you talking about? I took a breath. And with all the clarity I'd gained over the past 3 years, I finally said the words I'd held back for too long. I'm done supporting a family that doesn't see me as part of it. Michelle gasped softly. My dad whispered, Janet. But I wasn't finished. And I have one more thing to tell you. Something you all deserve to know before Michelle graduates. My mother tensed. What now? I looked directly into the camera. The biggest secret of all. The one thing none of them saw coming. The one thing that would change everything. My mother's face tightened like she was bracing for an earthquake. My father's expression fell into that stiff, uncomfortable stillness he always used when something was out of his control. Michelle stared at the screen, breathing shakily, waiting for the next blow. What secret? My mom demanded. What else could you possibly have to say? I didn't speak right away. I wanted the silence to settle. I wanted them to feel, for the first time, the weight of anticipation they always forced onto me. Then, when the pause felt thick enough to cut through, I finally said it. I'm the reason Michelle is graduating with honors. Michelle's head jerked up. Janet. My mom narrowed her eyes. What do you mean? I continued calmly. I didn't just pay her tuition and help her get internships. I also paid for her private tutoring sessions the first year. The ones she claimed were free through the school. My dad's jaw dropped. Michelle? Michelle closed her eyes, guilt flushing across her face. I didn't want you to think I needed outside help. I didn't want you to think I was failing. My mother's voice shot up an octave. You lied? You told us the school was offering extra advising sessions. I know, Michelle whispered. I'm sorry. And you, my mother turned to me through the screen like she wanted to argue physically, you just kept this a secret. I did, I replied, because Michelle was trying. Actually trying. And for once, she wasn't relying on you two to save her. I wasn't going to take that from her. She deserved space to grow. And she did. Michelle wiped her eyes again. Because of you, Janet. Not because of them. Because of you. My dad shook his head, not in anger but disbelief. All this time, your mother and I thought she was turning things around. She was, I said. But not because you pushed her. Because she allowed herself to lean on someone who didn't judge her or treat her like glass. My mom muttered something under her breath, too low to hear, but loud enough to recognize the tone. Shame. Frustration. Ego bruised so deeply she couldn't swallow it. And there's one more part, I said. Michelle's eyes widened. Janet, are you sure? Yes, I replied, because they need to know. My dad asked quietly, know what? I took a slow breath. Michelle didn't switch majors because she wanted something new. She switched because she failed 3 required classes in her original program. My mom gasped sharply. What? Michelle's voice cracked. Mom, please. You failed, she shouted. And you hid that? Because you would have lost your mind. Michelle broke, sobbing harder now. You never let me fail anything without turning it into a disaster. You didn't let me breathe. You didn't let me think. Janet helped me process it without punishing me for it. My mom looked like the ground had split underneath her. And, I added gently, Michelle did something you never expected. She repeated those classes quietly at community college, passed them, and transferred the credits back. My father blinked. You did that? Michelle nodded. Because Janet encouraged me to. She told me failing wasn't the end of the world, just something to learn from. She told me responsibility matters more than perfection. I listened. It helped. My mom whispered, we could have helped you. No, Michelle said, staring at her through tears. You would have helped yourselves feel better. Not me. The silence that followed was suffocating. Heavy. Real. Not the performative kind that always filled our family gatherings like manufactured politeness. This silence meant something. My mom's face softened, just barely. Janet, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you let us be part of this? I looked at her without blinking. Because you've never treated me like someone you wanted to be part of anything. She looked away. And now you understand, I said quietly, why being told to stay away from her graduation was the final straw. Michelle let out a painful, quiet sob. I never wanted that. Mom said it without asking me. I would never keep you away from my graduation. Never. My dad rubbed his forehead again. Your mother was trying to avoid conflict. She was the conflict, Michelle snapped. My mom opened her mouth, but no excuse came out this time. Michelle turned her attention fully to me. Janet, will you come? Please? It wouldn't feel right without you there. You're the reason I made it. A lump formed in my throat. The sincerity in her eyes was raw, unfiltered, something I'd almost never seen from her before. But before I could answer, my mom interjected again. You're putting us in an impossible position, she said bitterly. If Janet comes, people will think. I cut her off. Mom. This isn't about people. This is about Michelle. And she's asking me. Not you. My mom stiffened. Michelle leaned forward, tears streaking her face. Janet. I want you there. I don't care what they want. Please. My dad sighed, defeated. I think you should come too, Janet. I didn't know everything. We didn't know everything. We messed up. It wasn't an apology. Not fully. But it was the closest he'd ever come. My mom said nothing. She just stared at her desk, breathing unevenly. Her pride was collapsing under the weight of the truth. Whether she liked it or not, she knew this moment wasn't hers to control. I took a breath. Michelle. I'll think about it. She nodded, accepting that as the best answer she could get right now. The tension in the call didn't disappear, but it shifted. Less explosive, more reflective. My parents looked shaken in a way I'd never seen. And for once, Michelle wasn't avoiding the truth, she was facing it. We ended the call shortly after, with no dramatic goodbye, no angry last words, just an exhausted, emotional acceptance that nothing would ever be the same. Because the truth had been revealed. Completely. And none of us could go back. Interesting how a single Zoom call can force an entire family to confront years of denial. I didn't reveal the truth to destroy anyone, I did it because pretending had gone on long enough. Michelle grew, because she chose to. My parents stumbled, because they had to. And as for me, I finally learned that being silent doesn't make you loyal, it makes you disappear. So if you're listening, remember this, sometimes the hardest truth is the one that finally sets everyone free.